Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is Michelle, and who's here with me?
It's JD again.
It's JD again,
Always.
And it's Michelle again, and you know that we can't have something go terribly wrong and then not tell everybody about it.
Take two. What started with my dog deciding to bark again turned into a whole disaster, but we're here.
We are here.
We made it.
Yep.
We're ready to go.
Yep. Ready to go on a walk.
If this is your first time tuning in, thank you for checking out the show. It's called We Watch Shudder because we watch Shudder. That's the whole point.
But not today.
Not today. Yeah, see, they put out new releases. We talk about those. Today they didn't have this week they didn't have a new release. But somebody had a new release. It was the movie theaters. The big places where you go and they put the picture on the big wall. You ever been to one of those? It's pretty cool.
I like the place where they put the picture on the big wall.
Yeah,
Except I don't like that my snacks cost $50.
It's real loud.
It is real loud.
Michelle, you understand that nobody who works at that theater is actually going to stop you from bringing anything in, right?
Oh, I know, but I still have to get like a slushie because I can't get an icy elsewhere. And then if I'm going to go get an icy, I may as well get Bunch of Crunch because that's my go-to. And then if I'm there, I may as well get popcorn. I have to get the icy, and then it becomes this thing where I have to get everything else. It's not my fault. It's a trick.
I'm just here to tell you can get all of those things elsewhere.
I can't bring an icy into the theater.
The fuck you can't. I'm going to go somewhere and buy an icy and take it into the theater with you, and we'll see what happens.
I'm all down for this.
There isn't a 15, 16-year-old kid making minimum wage to sweep up popcorn in a movie theater who's going to say a fucking word about somebody bringing it. I walked into the theater for the Toxic Avenger carrying a can of Monster, and nobody said shit.
Well, that's because snitches get stitches.
Damn right they do. No, anyway, yeah, we talk about horror movies. We're talking about The Long Walk today.
Yeah.
Today we're talking about The Long Walk. The movie is not called The Long Walk today.
No, that's a different movie. What you missed out because we had to start recording again was we were talking about how cool Francis Lawrence, director of this film, is.
Well, we were talking about how he made the Hunger Games movies. I don't know if we were specifically talking about how cool he is, but
I was, because he directed I Am Legend, and he directed the Bad Romance Lady Gaga music video. So
yeah, and then he also did...
A+ guy for me.
What was the other one I found? Constantine. He made that movie. Yeah.
Yep,
he also
Water
did
for Elephants.
That really up its own butt movie, Water for Elephants. Red Sparrow. Because Jennifer Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm going to make these movies where Jennifer Lawrence plays a teenager, and then I'm going to make this movie where she gets naked and fucks right in front of a whole room full of people. Oh, sorry, spoilers for Red Sparrow. Wow. Can't believe you spoiled Red Sparrow, the 2018 movie that everybody's always talking about and wanting to see. Definitely very upset about that. The other thing is he likes to be like, hey, I need to get J-Law naked, and then he's like, and when I'm not doing that, I have to torture children in dystopian universes. All I'm saying is, at the very least, that way, if you really want to see J-Law naked, you can do it with her full consent, rather than all that shit that got stolen way back in the day. You know, when those people's phones got broken into or whatever. And everybody was like, oh, cool, free pictures of nude celebrities. And you were like, that's kind of fucked up, bro. And then nobody listened to you because they were like, fuck them, they're celebrities. They shouldn't have taken those pictures. And then your whole worldview comes crashing down because who are these people? They probably voted for Trump.
Well, I'm glad that you're in such a good mood while we start this episode about
Michelle,
dystopian.
I can't imagine why I'm in a rough mood talking about this movie. Ooh, we got a chat to have.
Yeah.
We got
a
a chat to have.
You
Yeah.
sent me a message about it that I'm not sure I fully understand and that we'll have to talk about in the spoiler section.
Okay, fine. Yeah, that works. So you said you had a Descrippy script. You said this is from IMDb?
Yes, the IMDb Descrippy script is good. So, from IMDb, The Long Walk. A group of teenage boys compete in an annual contest known as The Long Walk, where they must maintain a certain walking speed or get shot. The Long Walk, 2025, rated R, hour 48 minutes. JD, would you like to hit us with your spoiler-free thoughts?
Yeah, my spoiler-free thoughts on this movie were, first of all, the movie is not in any way whatsoever subtle about any of the points it's trying to make. It is, I don't want to say heavy-handed because I think that implies negativity, but they make no bones about what they are trying to say here, and the timing on this movie, especially in the climactic moments, we'll talk about that a little bit, especially considering everything else that's been going on in the world. But this movie got done, and I just turned to everybody, and I was just like, hey, guys, what do you think that movie was about? Because that was the only thing I could react and say, because this movie was a fucking emotional roller coaster. I became invested in this movie in ways that I never would have seen coming. Incredible performances from the main cast. A really well-written and nuanced script. Heavy as fuck. Again, especially in the context of what's happening in our world these days. This is an easy 5 skull. It's easy 5 skull.
Easy 5 skull.
I don't know that it's going to be able to overtake Sinners for me at the end of the year, but it's going to be right up there for sure.
Okay. A 5
How about you? How about you, Michelle? I know we already talked about it a little bit on our social media, but
yeah, it took me hours to write my post, but I had a lot of thoughts and I wanted to make sure I did them correctly, and it was a creative writing exercise, and I definitely did not have a panic attack while I was writing it because I couldn't think of various synonyms, and I was just Googling synonyms and none of them fit what I was trying to get across. Anyway, it's been a while. This is a double 5. This is a double 5. This probably is my favorite movie of the year, over Sinners. I need time to process it. I also need to find a place to stream it. I know I have to stream it illegally, but I will ethically pirate it, meaning that I will buy a movie ticket if I find a decent stream, and they'll get my money. I just don't want to leave my house. I want to sit in my house and write my notes and analyze it, and I can't do that in the theater. I did find one stream and it was awful. So I'm waiting for this to hit streaming and be available. Apparently it'll be like mid-December, and I can't go that long. I fucking love this. I read the book afterwards. Happy to report the movie is way better. I do love when I see a movie first and then I read the book and then I'm like, oh yeah, I still prefer the movie, because that does not always happen. The movie is significantly better. I cared so much about these people. I almost didn't go see this. I did not care to see it. It sounded boring as hell. I thought it was going to be very mopey and drab, and no, I cared about every single person so much. There's a lot to this that we will get in the spoiler section, but yeah, double 5. It has been a while, and this one is very much well earned.
Yeah, for sure. What an experience. I know we're going to talk about it in the spoiler section coming up here. Side note, by the way, I will warn everybody, we are going to have a little bit of spoilery chat also about the book. I will edit in another reminder for you when we get there if you would rather read the book yourself. But I want to go ahead and warn you ahead here so you're prepared for that. Hi guys, JD cutting in here. Actually, it turns out we ended up talking about the book quite extensively. So we're just going to make this a blanket spoiler warning. We're going to be talking quite a bit about the movie and the book throughout the rest of the episode. Enjoy! Let me ask you just quickly, Michelle, in a very non-spoilery way. is the movie better than the book because Stephen King doesn't know how to fucking write an ending to a story?
No, actually, it's that they took these characters in the book and made them likable.
Oh, okay. I know that's a very common criticism
Yeah.
for Stephen King is that he writes these incredible stories and then just botches the ending for a lot of people. I couldn't say for sure. I've never really read a lot of his stuff, but
The Cell is one of the angriest moments that I've ever experienced based on a book because it just ends. It just ends, and that's the point. Sorry if anybody was going to read The Cell, but you shouldn't because it just fucking ends. It gets very exciting, and then there's no more pages. And I was like, is there a sequel? No? What is the point of that? And I know what the point is, but it's the angriest I've ever been when I finished up a book. I was like, that was fucking dumb, and I hate it.
that's
It didn't
wild.
answer anything. Yep.
All right, then. So, diving right into the spoiler section. If you want to see the movie before we spoil everything for you, this is where you're going to want to pause. Michelle.
Yeah.
So, you have now both seen the film and read the book. Mm-hmm. Now, I am curious to hear your recapping of The Long Walk.
The Long Walk. Okay. Raymond Garrity is our main character. He's also Philip Seymour Hoffman's son, which is crazy. Just like anybody famous having a child who then does acting is weird to me. Like Jack Quaid, also an actor like Dennis Quaid. So weird. Why do they keep doing? Like, don't have like a child and make them an accountant. Stop being related to people. It's weird to me. But anyway, Raymond Garrity, he's our guy, and Judy Greer is his mom, and she's like real sad for some reason. I wonder why. Is it because her son just entered a thing where he's gonna walk as long as he can, and to avoid dying? I don't know. Would that put a mom in a bad mood? Potentially. She apparently likes her kid. That's not the case for everybody. So Raymond, aka Garrity, shows up, and there are 50 kids from the 50 different states, except there are people missing because they backed out at the last minute. So they send out invites essentially to 50 people, but then some just didn't show up. So they are all given numbers in sequential order, which is how you find out that some are missing. And they begin the walk. Oh, Mark Hamill's there, by the way. Mark Hamill gives a speech. I did not realize it was Mark Hamill until halfway through because he's wearing sunglasses. And I have never seen Mark Hamill wear sunglasses before. So then halfway through, I was like, is that the fucking Joker? And it absolutely was the fucking Joker. And
Hold the fucking phone. Mark Hamill is on the screen, and your point of reference is that the Joker? A character he only did the voice for?
Yeah, I really like his voice performance as the Joker. Mark Hamill is very talented, but the Joker is one of his... Here's the thing. I love voice acting. I think it's one of the coolest things. It's partially why Josh Rubin is one of my biggest celebrity crushes. I love voice acting. And so, Mark Hamill, the Joker.
I don't disagree with you, but that's fucking Luke Skywalker. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I didn't see Star Wars until I was very old. So I don't have, like, a care in the world about it.
Sorry, I just had an 80s kid gut reaction there when you said Mark Hamill, that's the Joker. Really?
Part of it is because I forgot who he played in Star Wars. I've only seen it once.
Jesus Christ. Let's move on. I'm so sorry I even dug into this. Good
I truly
Lord.
thought he was Obi-Wan. That would have made you angry if I went, Obi-Wan?
You have to stop now and just move on with the plot description.
Okay. So the Joker's there, and he's greeting these kids, and he's like, whoa! And he's like, the Batman. Anyway, Mark Hamill's there, and he's like, if you stop walking, you will be killed. But if you survive and you're the last one walking, then you will have all the riches that you could ever want. And one extra thing. You think real hard about what that is. There's no finish line. You just walk until you are the last person. Do not drop below 3 miles per hour, which is different in the book, and we'll get to it. And so they're all given a watch that tells them how far or how fast they're walking so that they can monitor it. They are given 3 warnings, and then they're shot. But once an hour, if they had a warning, it will fall off. So if you get to your third warning after 3 hours, your warning will it'll reset. So you can keep that in mind and try to make sure you don't get that fourth warning, which would not be a warning, it would be a bullet in your face, which they probably don't want. So they start this walk. We start character developing. David Johnson's here. He was from the newest Alien film, so he's cool. He's also probably my favorite character, Peter McVries. We got Stebbins, who's like this hunky, in shape dude that everybody's like, well, Superman's gonna win this thing for sure. We got Arthur Baker, and he's religious, but in a cool way. Charlie Plummer's there, Gary Barkovich, and he's like the villainous character, but not to like an overextended tropey degree. He's just like, it's Stephen King. He's gotta write one dickhead. Like, there's no way these could all be somewhat likable dudes. Hank Olson, played by Ben Wang, he's married, which is weird. We'll get to that. Richard Harkness, one of my least favorite deaths from the movie, and the one that got me the most. And we have Collie Parker, who is a Native American guy, who is my other most heart-wrenching death in this movie. So basically, there's 50 of them. 49 of them are gonna die. We like 49 does die. That's Richard Harkness. But there's 49 of them that will die. One will live. So they're just walking and bonding and talking about what they're going to do after this and making jokes and just being very social in the way that you probably would if you were just walking. And they are lamenting about how they shouldn't really make friends, but making a friend for a short amount of time is better than not making a friend at all. So these boys are bromancing pretty hard. And then we deal with the first death, Curly, played by Roman Griffin Davis from Jojo Rabbit. He gets a Charlie horse, and Raymond Garrity, being the nice guy that he is, tries to get him to keep going. So he's pulling him. He's like, come on, don't slow down. Just keep going, keep going. And Curly's like, yeah, I can do it. And then he lets go and immediately starts slowing down. And he starts getting his warnings, and he starts panicking and screaming, and he's on the ground and losing his mind. And then a soldier shoots him in the head in one of the most gruesome headshots I've seen in my life. His jaw is ripped open, and that's when you go, oh, this movie isn't gonna fuck around. And it does not. Every death is incredibly upsetting. It never gets easier. There's a scene where everybody's trying to make it up a very steep hill, and it is a massacre. You're just constantly hearing these gunshots. It's one of the most traumatic things I've ever experienced in a movie theater. I was like having an anxiety attack during that, because I was like, who's left? Who's surviving? I cared so much to see who made it through. They handle all these types of questions that you might have about the long walk. Like, what happens if you have to go to the bathroom? You do it quickly. That's the answer. What if you need water? They will give you endless amounts of water. You can drink, you can eat. The point is to walk. They don't want you dying of dehydration. They want you dying of exhaustion. And that gets us to the reason of the long walk, which was part of Mark Hamill's speech at the beginning. And that is that there is an epidemic of laziness. We are in a post-United States war of some kind that is never clarified, but you can imagine. And nobody wants to work anymore, but nobody wants to walk anymore. Am I right? And so they live stream the long walk once a year, and it's supposed to encourage people to be productive members of society. And apparently it works. I don't understand that. Walking is one of the worst things in the world. I would not watch this happen. But we see a lot of people die. Of course, Richard Harkness is running up the hill and his ankle snaps, and then a while later we see he's still alive and just hobbling along on this stump. I loved Harkness. He wanted to be an author really badly. Hank Olson just screaming that it's not fair and he did it wrong. Very upsetting. Collie Parker trying to fight back and then chanting or singing as he sits there. Very upsetting. Arthur Baker gets a nosebleed that won't stop and he collapses. Just everybody is so... Barkovich even like kills a kid essentially, because he gets the kid to try to fight him, which makes him slow down, and so he gets shot. And even that character, despite everybody being like, you're a fucking murderer, even he kind of has like a character arc of, you can tell he's just very messed up and does not know, and he's a very troubled boy. We learn a lot about the characters, including that Raymond Garrity wants to do this because the major is the one who killed his dad, because his dad was trying to show him old things from the before times, like good music and art and things that he's not allowed to be exposed to anymore. And the major found out and killed his father, who was played by Josh Hamilton. And I love Josh Hamilton. I love checking him out in a movie because Dark Skies is one of the scariest movies I've ever seen in my whole goddamn life. So I get excited when I see Josh Hamilton because it reminds me that aliens exist. So that's Raymond Garrity's plan. Peter doesn't really have a plan for what he wants to do, and he's also just this very nice guy. And, a lot of these people, they're just doing the long walk, and they don't really have an end goal. They're like, oh, well, I'm gonna get money. That's gonna be great. God, what else about this? Just people keep dying, and it is... we'll just get to the end, because I will get upset talking about every little death in this. Like, Richard Harkness and Collie Parker got me the most. Sorry. So, at the end, we get down to our last three, which is Raymond, Peter, and Stebbins. Stebbins is the one who looks kind of like Superman. Peter McVries is the very jovial one who has kind of kept Raymond Garrity alive. They got a bromance going on. More about that later. And Stebbins has never been sick at all in the last 10 years, and he got incredibly sick. And he's the one who probably would have won it because he was in shape. But he is so sick, he cannot continue, and he confesses that the major is his father, and he thought that the major might, like, care or something about him being his kid, but then he realized the major has a lot of kids, and he is just indifferent. So Stebbins joins the long walk, kind of like to prove something, but he falls down. He's done. Now we're down to just Peter and Raymond, and they are walking through a town where there are tons of spectators because it's down to the last two. And Peter is looking at Raymond, and then he just stops walking, and Peter gets a warning. So then Raymond stops walking to get him to keep going, and Raymond gets a warning. Now Peter gets a warning, Raymond gets a warning. They're going back and forth, and if this continues as it is, Peter will die because he got the warning first. So Peter's trying to explain that, like, he's just done. Raymond can have it. And Raymond gets him to keep walking, and he's like, come on, just a little bit longer, just a little bit longer. They start walking, and as they're like, yep, keep going, Garrity stops and gets shot. Not fatally at first, because the major likes to deliver the final blow himself. So he shows up. He shoots Garrity after Garrity gives Peter this little speech about him being a good person and deserving it. And then he gets shot by the major. And the major congratulates Peter, and he's like, okay, what do you want as your one thing in addition to money? And Peter's like, I want that gun. I'm going to hang it above my fireplace and tell my kids all about how I won the long walk. So Mark Hamill hands over his gun. Peter aims at Mark Hamill, and he's going to fulfill Raymond's wish, which was to kill the major in that exact fashion. And the major's like, oh, son, you don't have to do this. You're going to have so much money. Like, of course he's not going to do that. There's still time. And Peter shoots him anyway. And everything goes into slow motion. Peter turns around. He sees the dark road ahead of him, and he begins walking again because you cannot get off the long walk. The long walk.
Yeah, it's a fucking heavy movie. First of all, I do want to talk about Mark Hamill, because I do love Mark Hamill as a voice actor, because Mark Hamill is a legitimate voice actor. And what Mark Hamill is doing in this movie is what Mark Hamill did in Fall of the House of Usher, what he's been doing in a lot of different things he's turned up in recently. Mark Hamill is actually fucking acting. He's creating characters. He's not just showing up and being Mark Hamill with certain personality traits. Like this, like the voice, and it's not ridiculous, right? Like, it's a believable voice. It only feels a little silly because we know Mark Hamill so well, right? But he's fucking acting in this movie in a way that you don't really get to see a lot anymore because we have so many of those big movie star presences that are just bringing themselves to the roles. So I thought that was great. And as if that wasn't enough, every single one of these kids in this movie are incredible. Like, I imagine making the movie just in itself developed a pretty strong camaraderie between them. But a level of maturity and emotional development, and just every one of them is a very believable character, and a very, even the quote-unquote bad ones, very understandable characters, right? Like the one guy you mentioned who bullies the other kid until he ends up getting all his warnings. Yeah, Barkovich. Barkovich, very clearly, before they ever even start that walk, one of the most broken of them, who's all, like, he's so broken already when he gets there, right? And like, so I guess that was the first thing about it, was the performances were overwhelming. I thought that was fucking great. Before I move on, anything you want to say about that?
The performances?
Yeah.
Specifically? No, they're fantastic. This is great. I'm so glad that Philip Seymour Hoffman reproduced and gave us Cooper Hoffman. So thank you to that man.
I didn't even know that's who that guy was until you said it in this episode, that was Philip Seymour Hoffman's kid.
Yep.
I did not know. Okay, so look, this was written by Stephen King in the 70s, right? The book came out in like 79.
It was published in the 70s, but it was actually the first book that he ever wrote. And then he didn't publish it until he was much older, and did it under his pseudonym of Richard Bachman, which is the name that he wrote 3 books under, including The Running Man. And then the third one I haven't read.
Okay, so understanding when this was written. So we're probably talking, it published in 79, probably written late 60s, early 70s, if it was the first thing he ever wrote.
Yeah.
So this very clearly originates as a military metaphor, right?
Yes, Vietnam War.
These are young boys, and it's specifically boys, which creates an entirely different context in a modern sense, which you talked about, and we'll get to it later. But so very obviously a military metaphor, in the way the military just eats up children and grinds them into grist for the for the mill, and that whole idea of, we're here to inspire the country, boys. We're here to show everybody that it's worth fighting and dying for. And the fact that it's the major. You mentioned that they talk about this sort of abstract war or something that happened. I very much get the impression that that war was a military coup. Like, I believe it was a Civil War type situation, or a military coup, where the major and his people came in and slaughtered everything and took over a bunch of stuff. Now, there's very little that points directly at that. That's just where my mind landed on the few contextual points. Again, because the major doesn't seem like he's just the major, right? Like, he's just a military person. He's like he looks like Castro for a reason, right? He's dressed to resemble Fidel Castro, with the glasses and the kind of hat that he's wearing. He's not obviously portraying somebody of Latino or Cuban descent, but he seems like even more than just a military leader. He seems like he's the fucking guy, right? And so that's kind of where I was sitting on it. But the way, go ahead.
I'll just say it's interesting to me. I did not pick up on that. It is very mysterious to me and ambiguous about what happened. I just know that the country got torn apart, and now there's basically no one. In the movie, it's a very desolate space. We'll say that. The book is different.
Yeah, so okay, so then so again, that's the originating metaphor here, but as I was sitting here watching this movie, I was just like, in the years since this book was written, like, this story functions on so many more levels than just a military level, right? Like, this is it becomes a metaphor for, in a lot of ways, life under capitalism, just being ground into the ground over and over, being used until you're no longer useful and then disposed of. They talk about, there's that point in there where they have that discussion about, they say it's voluntary, but nobody really chooses this, right? Which, again, very military oriented, but feels like it becomes so much more applicable now under oligarchical, insane late stage capitalism, and just this complete lack of respect for people and humanity. And I don't remember any specific quotes because the whole thing was so overwhelming, but there are so many moments in this movie where I was just like, oh, I know exactly what they're saying here, right? It's so full of very obvious, and I don't want to say obvious, but very readable symbolism. And I found the way that military metaphor becomes applicable because it's the idea of you are just feed for the system, right? And whether it's military or whether it's business or whatever it is, whether it's America. I do like at the end where, because they never really, I don't think explicitly say it, but they do at the very end at least come right out and tell you that this is the United States that they're talking about, right? They're singing God Bless America at the end of the movie and the fireworks are going off. It struck me as being shockingly prescient about, because, like, I imagine they started developing this a few years ago when a lot of these things were still just ideas of what might happen, and we get to this world we're in now where things are falling into this fascist totalitarian chaos, and I don't know, it kept hitting me over and over and over how wildly prescient this movie was.
I feel quite different than you in that, to me, the military metaphor was secondary to this being the long walk of life and the hardships that they have to go through, especially with the... Okay, hi, JD. Yes.
No, please continue. I'm just reminding myself. I'm sorry, okay. I'm just gesturing.
Yeah, I'm just like, I have so many points, but you hit some of them already, so this might sound repetitive, but it's really driven home by how every single person they know signs up for this. This is your way to get out of poverty. This is the only thing that you can do is the long walk. Otherwise, you are stuck doing whatever you have to do. In the book, they go into it quite a bit more of how just very poor a lot of these people are, how they're in very rundown locations. It's also even more apparent in the book that's the U.S., but at the beginning they do talk about Garrity being the kid whose state they're in. And I think,
okay.
So in the book it's definitely they're in Maine because, of course, it's a Stephen King book. He loves Maine. I think they mentioned the state. I know somebody said that they were from South Dakota. So they do mention states throughout it. And
Yeah.
And there's 50 of them with some dropping out. So they take one from each state is how they do it. Which is not in the book. In the book, there's actually 100 and they're just randomly chosen. Oh, wait, no, it's not random. They have to take a test, a psychological test and fitness test and answer questions and stuff. And then they choose, but they're not looking for the best of the best. And they clearly do not get that. Anyway, getting off topic, but the whole thing when they talk about how everyone you know signs up for this, they don't know a single person who hasn't signed up. And at that point, it's not really a choice, is it? That you have to do the long walk if it becomes the thing that you have to do. And you have to abandon the loved ones that you have in order to be successful, in the way that he abandons his mom and leaves her, in the same way that Garrity's father left them, by like not standing up against the government or choosing to stand up instead of just like acquiescing and capitulating to that. So he has to abandon his mom and his loved ones for the possibility of success. He has to make friends along the way, and then he has to deal with being okay with those people getting murdered in front of him so that he can continue. It is about all the sacrifices that you have to make in order to keep walking and make it your one journey. And near the end, I forgot if it's McFreeze who says it. I think so. But he says that he's been on the long walk his whole life. Either him or Garrity does. And that's where it really also hits it home about life is the long walk. And it is this journey that you have to go on. And sometimes you get an opportunity to potentially make it better for yourself. And then at the end, you might realize, like, maybe it really wasn't worth it after all, and you continued the long walk for something better.
So you don't see a lot of very specific political and social commentary going on?
I see a little bit of it. Like, it's not, like, completely lost on me, and it's definitely built with political part in mind. But after reading the book, too, I feel even more solid in, like, the life metaphor.
Okay, no, and so the reason I was making a point was I was gonna say, just to be clear, I just think I felt like the military metaphor is probably where this idea began, and then became. I guess what I'm saying is because you mentioned there after reading the book you get more of that vibe, and of it being just about life and that sort of thing. I guess for me, I'm talking specifically about the movie, and I feel like
too.
Right, I guess, but what I'm saying is I feel like the movie very much took those themes and presented them in a way that very much represents modern America right now today, right? Like, dystopian fiction doesn't predict the future, it critiques the present, is a pretty common quote. And so I very much got that, and that's fine. I wanted to clear up that, like, I don't think, like, the military thing was the primary thrust. I just think that's probably where the idea originated, was in a metaphor for the military.
Yeah, and I will clarify that I am talking about the movie. It was just solidified when I read the book that I was like, okay, yeah, no, I feel more confident in this. But everything, like, when I was just doing my monologue there, it was about the movie, because a lot of the book is different. That is not how the book ends, so it's very different in how it can be interpreted. Yeah.
Speaking of the end, this movie actually didn't do something that I got real worried that it was going to do, because to me it seemed like the very obvious thing, which is I was afraid they were going to spend the whole movie developing this relationship between Garrity and McBreeze, and then in the end one of them is going to kill the other so that they win, right? That ultimately they end up being pitted against each other after developing this friendship along the way. I'm so glad they didn't do that. I feel like that would have been a little too weak. And I guess even I don't know that I would have been bothered by it until I saw what they did. And I really love what they did with the ending on this movie. I want to ask you about the difference on the ending in the book, because you told me you were going to tell us, and I got to remind myself to put that spoiler alert here. Hey, look, if you don't want any spoilers about the book, jump ahead, maybe about 90 seconds?
Yeah, it's going to be quick. The ending it's a significant difference. It's a weird difference. And so I wanted to talk about it a little bit.
Have at it. 90 seconds, go!
Okay, I can say it essentially in 10 seconds. The movie, it's Peter and Garrity are the last two, and they, like, oh my god, I did not see Garrity dying that way. That, like, took my breath away. But in the book, Stebbins, Peter and Garrity are the last three, and Peter just sits down and he decides that he's too tired to keep going, but he does it in, like, a very peaceful, like, I've accepted it kind of way. And that's kind of how he does in the movie too. But then he dies, and now it's Garrity and Stebbins essentially just collapses And it happens very quickly where suddenly like both boys just die, and now it is Garrity who is left. And then off in the distance he sees a dark figure, which is actually way more of a horror ending. He sees a dark figure, and the dark figure is beckoning to him, and he thinks it might be another walker. And he realizes that the walk has to continue, and that it will just never end. And he continues going, which is incredibly bleak because it says that Garrity is broken beyond repair, even though he won. He doesn't even really understand his reality. It is he's broken by these events, whether he died or not. Even that's possibly he could have died. They talk about that in the book, that people died immediately after winning, so it didn't really matter. But yeah, the ending, I'm glad they did what they did in the movie instead, because the book was very lackluster.
Yeah, so am I, having just heard that description. I feel like the ending in the movie was significantly better. There was so at the end of the movie, obviously, so like one of the big things here is Garrity tells McVrees that his wish will be to ask for that gun, so that he can kill the Major and hopefully put an end to all this, or at least disrupt things. And McVrees' whole take is like, no, man, like that's not the answer, right? Like we have to get past it. And it's this whole thing where Peter finally sacrifices himself, and the way he justifies it to McVrees is like, no, you don't understand. I see now. You're right. You can still see it. I can't. It has to be you. And so Garrity understands, right? He's like it has to be you because you have the hope still. You have the hope still. And then he's so ruined by what happens that his hope is now gone, and he goes back and does what Garrity was going to do. And look, it's probably just got a lot to do with where my own mentality and focus has been recently. But the idea that we have a movie that very heavily has a moment that straight up asks you, is it ever okay to kill somebody? This week we got that movie? What the fuck? Like, I'm not a believer in Kismet or anything like that, but holy shit, the timing on that is insane. And I feel like what this movie is saying is, like, it doesn't ever draw a conclusion, right? This is a movie that doesn't say one way or the other whether this was the right thing. And the point is, it doesn't matter if it was the right thing or not, because it's what happened. It's what he was driven to. Like, that's what he ended up doing. And whether it was the right thing to do or not, everything that led up to that moment is responsible for it. And it's again, it's very bleak in a different way than the ending you described in the book, in that sense of he was, like, Garrity gave himself so that the last bit of hope would survive, and the last bit of hope is destroyed by the destruction of Garrity. Right, by that lack of mercy and humanity, and it just punched me in the face. I was just, and of course, let me ask you, is McVrees dead at the end? Do you think?
Book or movie? Because
in the movie.
Oh, sorry, I got my survivors mixed up. Garrity survives in the. That's why I was like, we see him die.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. He sits down and dies in the book. Yeah, you mentioned that.
I got my names mixed up for a second. That's all. So
like,
I don't
at
think
the end
he's
of this,
dead.
You don't think he's dead?
No.
I think the instant he pulled that trigger and killed the Major, everything we see from that point, he's already dead. They loaded him with bullets the minute he killed him, which is why when he turns around, like, everything is gone. And I agree with you that a part of the implication is, like, even in this moment, the walk is not over, right? You're still walking. But because of the sort of supernatural, like, and this is the most supernatural the movie gets at all, but just it turns into that kind of soft focus with that sort of ethereal sound behind it, and all the people are gone, and it's just him staring down the empty long road. I very much feel like he is dead. Like they took him out the instant he killed the major.
I thought it was more metaphorical that he doesn't care whether he's alive, dead, he's won, nothing matters. He just has to keep
fair.
walking.
That's fair. Yeah, I could see that wrapping up that way. But
if he didn't die, he's probably in prison. He's probably suffering some sort of consequence. And either way, the walk continues. So either he's in an afterlife where the walk continues, or in real life, he is in a walk that never ends.
I think probably... Because, again, there are a lot of moments of dialogue, and a couple of them that I've managed to finally pull out. There was that one at the end where he was like, I can't see it anymore. That's why it has to be you. Like, that hit me hard because there are a lot of days where I feel like I'm the guy who can't see it anymore. And that sucks a lot. And so that really hit me. The other one that really resonates and rings in my ear is earlier on in the movie, where I don't even remember the exact words, but McVrees says something about they tell me, or they say that you'll eventually get used to it, and Garrity says, "Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of."
Yep, that's one of my favorites.
It's like, yeah, that's exactly what I don't want to happen. And it's, I love that idea of, like, the way all of these complete strangers were just like, well, this is it, right? And so they develop those relationships and that idea. I find it interesting that in both the book and the movie, the final three are the perfect individual and the two who developed the closest, most supportive friendship. Like, that's huge. I think that says so much. This movie speaks on so many levels, and I can't say enough good things about it.
Neither can Riley. He can't. Going on. He's like, I love walks. God damn it.
I'm going to go deal with them. You talk to these people. I'll leave my headphones on.
Oh, I will just monologue to myself. But I had so many things. Oh, while you're gone, I'm gonna talk about the book for a while because there's a whole bunch of different things. First off, I should not be surprised, but Stephen King put so many references to boners, and he put so much emphasis on how mad Garrity is that he's a virgin, and like Stebbins makes fun of him for being a virgin. There's a lot of that. In the movie, they come across this girl who looks too young, and everyone's like, ew, or Garrity's like, ew, she looks so young. No, like, I'm not interested in that. In the book, he comes across a young girl who's not dangerously young, I don't think. But he sees her on the side of the road, and he gets warnings because he runs up and makes out with her, and he touches her butt. And all this stuff. And there's a lot of flashbacks to him thinking about his girlfriend, Pam, who in the movie he just says he broke up with this girl because he was coming here. In the book, Pam is a bunch of his memories, and she offered to have sex with him if he just backed out of the long walk, and he wouldn't, and now he regrets it. There's a lot of homosexuality in the book. McVrees, in the movie, it's implied, never 100% stated, but he is probably gay. And Garrity is like, oh, you got a girlfriend back home? No, I don't have a girlfriend. And then Garrity falls back, which is an extreme reaction. Come on. I was going to say it's 2025. But I guess this is 1960 something. In the book, it's definitely those two have kind of like a thing almost going on, and Stebbins is like making fun of them and being like, what, are you queer for each other? And McVrees is like, maybe I am, maybe I do want to have sex with him. And it's like, what the fuck, Stephen King? What is this all about? One guy while walking premature ejaculates and then gets shot because he slowed down. One guy, they're telling each other stories, and he says a story about how his little brother loves enemas so much that his mom said that if he was a good boy and let his brother go on the walk, that she would give him an enema as a reward. Which, like, where does that? I was about to say, where does that come from? But cocaine. It comes from cocaine. But the biggest difference between the book and the movie that is substantial is that the movie characters are very likable. It's like word for word at certain points, but delivered by kind of like generic people where it's like this could be anybody giving this monologue in the book, and they're like interchangeable. They don't have like big characteristics that define them. McVrees, I don't know very much about. Garrity, I know that he's real horny for his girl back home, and that he also has like, there's implications of how Freud said that he wants to have sex with his mom. So when they come across the town where he'll be able to see his mom and his girlfriend, like, oh, he's real excited to see his mom because that's the one that he wants to have sex with, right? Like, what the fuck, Stephen King? And then, but in the book, they're all just interchangeable people. There's nothing like Stebbins. We learn who he is by the end. Barkovich goes fucking crazy, but he's about the same. But they added so much dimension and depth in the film, and they actually like become very close to one another, and it's a whole group of them. In the book, it's more just like Garrity and McVrees, and everybody is very like solitary in their venture, and they're just like not talking and hanging out and being friends at all. I think the bromance in the movie is what really sold me. I love a good bromance.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't hear all of that because I was dealing with this goddamn dog, but it doesn't surprise me that Stephen King put all sorts of bizarre sexual stuff I mean, that's kind of a thing he does, right? Weird sex things and not knowing how to end a story. It's kind of his trademark.
He found a way to kill a dog in the book, like so Stephen King.
Yeah, for sure.
The dog ran towards the walker, the people on the long walk, and so he got shot. And one of the little boys was real sad about it.
So a couple other things that I thought of while I was fighting with the dog that I wanted to bring up. We did mention briefly that obviously it seems like the group was a bunch of young boys because of that original sort of like military metaphor. But you had some interesting thoughts on it that actually hadn't even crossed my mind while I was watching the movie. Tell people about your whole take on that.
The fact that they are boys who start out courageous and then let their emotions show is a huge thing to me, and I have a very hard time putting it into words, but I very firmly believe that although we've made strides, boys and men have been basically conditioned to like not show emotions, just be kind of stoic, like don't show them, that's weakness if you cry, like that kind of thing. I have a big background with experiences like that, and all of these kids, like these young boys and men, they start out in the way of having a mask to show that they're not scared and they're tough and everybody thinks they're gonna win and they're just joking around. And by the end, we see who they all really are. We see them being open with one another as far as like friendships go and being willing to tell somebody else that they care about them. We see them cry, and we see all of this camaraderie that just because they're boys, I think it hits so much harder. Like, I hate to say it, but if this was 50 girls walking, all 50 girls crying would not have as much of an impact on me, because like, oh, women are emotional, like that's the stereotype, whereas boys and men crying and showing vulnerabilities and being open about their friendships and how much they care about one another, that meant a whole lot more with them.
Well, I mean, that's that is, after all, the upside of being open about your emotions is you don't nearly as frequently hit those insane steam release valve explosions of emotion, right?
Yeah.
Not nearly as much, I should say. It still clearly can happen for anybody. But yeah, it's just an element of it that I hadn't really thought of. That I thought, you know what I did notice was interesting, though, is there are, at least, I should say, what appear to be women among the soldiers killing these boys, right? Like, so it's not like women are excluded from this, you know, they're you know, they just, you know, and I imagine, again, that comes back to the military thing, but I found it interesting, that whole element of, like, all they got to do is call for a canteen and they'll bring them clean water and that sort of thing, because, as you mentioned, they want it to be about the exhaustion, right? They want it to be about running you into the ground, but also keeping you going as long as they can. They've got periodic rations that they get. They're going to get hungry, but at least they're receiving, you know, some caloric intake. They're getting water when they need it. And I'm sure, of course, the people behind this whole thing use that as some sort of, it's like, oh, we give them water and nutrition packs to keep them going. You know, we're not torturing these boys. They're volunteering, right? This whole... There's so many layers upon layers of things like that, like little, like, world building, not on a grander scale, but within the frame. Like, you figure out a lot about the Long Walk and how it functions, and you're able to extrapolate so much from those things. I at least I felt. There was one other. Oh, you had mentioned something in your post about how some of the deaths are very violent and right up front, but then also some of them are just completely in passing and go by so quickly. I thought that was also really astute. You know, that some of them, like, they're just, especially in that walk up the hill, where boys are just being, and you know that's exactly what it's. Why that hill is there, right? That hill is there so they can have this absolute slaughter of these boys as they're going up. And of course, metaphorically speaking, representing some kind of major conflict point or something. But
one of the big scenes that helped me realize that, and I want to rewatch this so badly, but I don't have time to go to the theater, so I need to illegally stream it, please. I refuse to watch the really terrible camera version. I will pay money for the HD version. But Arthur, when he gets his nosebleed, he begs them not to watch it happen, and you see it very out of focus as they are walking away. And I kept thinking that they're going to give us a close-up of that death, and they don't. And I need to confirm that, but I'm pretty sure that they never show it because they kept to their promise that they were not going to watch Arthur die.
Yeah, and for a while I was watching this movie, and I kept thinking to myself, in the sense of, like, almost like a producer or somebody, and I'm watching it, and I'm saying to myself, you know... Honestly, if you just took out some of the more graphic gore and blood and stuff going on here, like, this could be like, I don't know, it felt, for a moment I was like, is that part of this even really necessary, or are they adding that gore in just to have this, you know, these shock? And then as I'm watching it, and then when you said that whole thing about the deaths happening just in the distance and happening so quickly that you don't even have time to stop and grieve, right? Everything, the mill keeps fucking churning. It does not stop. And that's when it all kind of settled together. It's like, no, like, some of these have to be disgusting. They have to be graphic, because you need to be reminded on a regular basis what is really happening. Like, you need that, because you see that periodically. They always come back to the very violent, very graphic death. And I feel like that is, again, they don't overdo it, but the way they play both ends of that spectrum, I thought was really fucking good.
there's one thing that I definitely wanted to talk about, but you haven't mentioned it, and I was debating baiting you into it. But I think I will just say it.
Do it.
Immediately after the movie, I went to the bathroom. I came out, and you were yelling about how it's physically impossible for them to have walked 300 plus miles. And I am thrilled to be able to tell you that you're very wrong. And that the longest record, I looked it up, George Holtzier, 1986.
Yeah, it's 4 days or 400 some miles, something like that.
418 miles, 0.49.
Yeah. Michelle.
418.49. 6
Michelle.
days, 10 hours, 58 minutes. It
Yeah.
averaged out to 2.9 miles per hour.
It was 2.7 miles per hour. I did the exact. Michelle, I read 3 articles about it to make sure I knew what I was talking about. First of all, it's 2.7 miles per hour.
I'm going to go get my calculator.
And then also, yes, that's a world record, right? It's a world all-time. Do you know how he got to that world record? He trained long-distance walking for extended hours and hours at a time, like 75-hour walks, these huge things for months before he did. These are random boys that have been brought up just as normal people. A couple of them may be athletes. None of them are even remotely as prepared for this specific encounter as George What's-His-Name was for walking 4 days or 400 miles plus, setting that world record. You want to tell me these boys have spent their entire lives training to do this? I'll buy it. You want to tell me these regular boys just get pulled off the street and walk non-stop for 5.5 days? No.
So in your world, there is not an education system that wants to make sure that they produce the best boy if one of their boys gets chosen for the long walk. So there is mandatory gym class so that everybody walks
Michelle,
for an hour.
This would take so much more than an hour of gym class once a day.
No, I know, but I'm saying, I think these boys regularly walk, and they walk everywhere.
I regularly walk. I regularly walk a lot. A lot of this is a different caliber of walking, Michelle.
No, they have treadmills that they just hang out on for hours.
George H., whose last name I can't remember, was a world-class professional athlete who spent months specifically training for setting that record. That's all I'm saying. These guys make it about a day and a half, tops. Maybe 2 days.
He did not have guns pointed at him, willing him to continue on.
Your muscles don't give a shit if there's a gun pointing at them or not. When they give out, they give out.
Yep, and these boys have real good muscles. You've seen Stebbins? Stebbins looks like a superhero, and he still didn't win.
Yeah, and he would still collapse about 2 days in.
Here's what we have to do. We have to find a boy, and we need to put him on a walk so that we can run this science experiment.
See how long he can walk before he collapses?
Yes, but we do need to do it like the long walk, where there are guns pointed at him. And like in the movie where they're like, whoa, I thought that they would shoot that guy and a little flag that says bang would come out and it would all be a joke. See, that's how we actually do it. We don't kill the boy, but we do tell him we will kill him, and we make it very serious.
I will also point out that I noticed you didn't try to recorrect me again about it being 2.7 miles per hour.
Yeah, it's because I was trying to do calculator, but you were kind of loud, and so I gave up doing calculator.
Oh, wow.
No, I couldn't do both. 24 times 6 plus 10, 154. So that's 418.49 divided by 144 is 2.906.
Let's see. In 1986, George Holtzer walked virtually nonstop 418.49 miles in 6 days, 10 hours, 58 minutes. This averages out to 2.7 miles per hour.
They are doing their math wrong. There are 24 hours in a day. 6 times 24 is 144 hours. Plus 10 makes it 154. We take the number of miles that he walked, 418, and we divide it by the number of hours, and we get 2.9 miles per hour. They did their math wrong.
418.
Yep.
I'm typing it in right now. 418.49, by the way.
Yep.
Divided by
Yep.
And for the record, it's 155 hours or just shy of 155. 6 days, 10 hours, 58 minutes. 2.699354838709677. I am the winner!
That hour made that much of a difference?
Yeah.
That's
Who did the math wrong, Michelle? Who did the math wrong?
You, clearly.
I may
According to my math.
I may have to cut a big chunk of that out of there, but god damn it, I have to win. I have to win.
I did the math, but I didn't add that extra hour. That's a bummer.
See,
Either
what I did is
it.
I didn't stop at the first two numbers. I kept reading.
No, I did write down all of them. When I did my calculations, I just left the 58.
We gotta stop. We gotta stop this.
Yeah, they probably don't want to hear all of that. Definitely cut a significant portion.
Yeah, some of that's
yelling at each other about math.
Here's what I'll do: is I'll just chop it up randomly, so they're like, "What the fuck is even going on?" Oh, I'm glad we kept going a little bit though. There is one thing I haven't looked into, and I'm hoping you remember enough that you can tell me. I didn't hear the story that McVries tells Garrity.
Oh, thank God you asked.
After they see Garrity's mom, because I had to pee so damn bad. What is that story?
See, I tried looking it up to prepare for this episode. I know that a bunch of guys, he got in a fight with them. I don't remember what they were fighting over, but one of them pulled a knife and sliced him. In the book, he sexually assaulted his girlfriend. And she pulled a knife.
What?
Yep.
Wow.
See, this is what I mean. The characters in the book are not very likable. They're very generic. And they just care about having sex and not dying. Which I guess is most boys and men. But
well, and especially military-aged, draft-age boys, I guess I can see.
Oh, speaking of Curly... His death being the very first one. Ooh, and then Rank, his face sliding across the pavement.
Oh, God.
And Harkness. Like, these deaths are gruesome, but also the fact that they're crying while it happens. That's what I mean. Like,
it's
a
brutal.
boy crying is... I used to like those soldiers coming home videos of, like, everybody crying about it and the kids crying. Or, like, a guy getting a dog that he's wanted for a long time and just breaking down. Like, I see a man crying and it breaks me.
Well, and that also, it reminds me of, especially in real heavy wartime, guys who were involved in World War II, like the whole Band of Brothers Normandy invasion situation. A lot of guys tell stories of, like, especially in the aftermath of battle, when the battlefield is just littered with not just corpses, but the dying. And just wails of not just pain, but sobbing and crying. Boys screaming for their mothers, right? Because these are 18, 19, in a lot of cases at that time, 16, 17-year-old boys, right? These are fucking boys. And it's just the idea of that. That experience of them just wailing in terror and agony as they die. It's fucking heavy. Yeah. So this was a good movie. I don't know if you guys caught on to that. I know we got a little sidetracked a couple of times, but that'll happen when you got a lot of shit to talk about.
We stayed pretty on track. Just the math debate has to get...
Stop! The what, Michelle?
The math debate. I said it. I said what I said.
I said what I said.
We were math debating.
We were math debating.
Vigorously. Loudly. And they can't hear any of it.
Well, I may leave some of it in there. I'm going to leave in the part where I shout, I win.
Just a hint of math debation for them.
God damn it.
I'm on the long walk, okay? Leave me alone.
Oh, seriously,
My
go
life
see
is
this
a long
movie,
walk.
guys. This is a real fucking good one. It's heavy as shit, but it's so good.
I leave for New Orleans in 36 hours, and I don't have time to go to the theater, and I still want to.
Let me ask you, did Frisky reach out to you about this movie?
No, but I did tell her to watch the trailer and then get back to me.
Okay, yeah, because she had asked in a comment, I think, or maybe sent me a message or something.
To the comment.
Oh, did you?
Yep.
I didn't see your reply. Okay.
Yep. Oh, because it came from the page. You don't get.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't get no. Yeah. Anyway, there's behind the scenes shit nobody cares about. Go see The Long Walk. Next week we're talking about the remake of Night of the Reaper, which I didn't even know was happening. At least I think it's a remake of the OG Night of the Reaper, but slasher time. I'm looking forward to that.
I have no idea what that is.
Oh, it's just like super low budget 80s slasher movie that like I think it's on Screambox, the original, but it's like it looks like it was shot on home video, or not on home video, but I don't know, it's very indie, we'll say that. It got a guy wearing a hood.
I'm real proud of us for going the whole episode without saying that the true horror is just walking.
Well,
and speaking of, just in case people aren't familiar with the book at all, this is like one of the things I knew before starting it. The book is 4 miles per hour. The movie is 3 miles per hour. And that is a very important distinction to prepare for the long walk. I got on my treadmill. I went 3.7 miles per hour for a half hour, and it sucked. It sucks so bad. I definitely would not be like telling jokes and telling stories. And Stephen King was like, no, that is a good change to make. I was on cocaine and didn't know what walking was like.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you were doing 4 miles, because also apparently don't they end up going like 400 miles, so for like 100 hours in the book? No fucking way.
In the book, they go like 150. Yeah, but still, it sucks. There's no way.
Fucking way. At 4 miles an hour? They would never make it at 3 miles an hour. 4 miles an hour, all 50 of those boys would be dead in a day.
If they even lasted that long. Also, there's tons of spectators in the book. They're everywhere. They are constantly, like, people are holding up signs cheering them on constantly. And it's a whole thing that, I don't know how that works into the metaphor, but they become the crowd. They are like a personified crowd of, like, crowd cheers for us. And that was interesting.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of that in the movie. There's
they deliberately block it off, and they say that people are encouraged not to watch.
Just the locals.
Yeah. And so in this, it's constant, and it's strange.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't. This coming from a guy who is real scattershot on Stephen King adaptations, I cannot recommend this movie enough. Before we go, there is one last thing. You said there was a message I sent you that you wanted to ask me about. Are you talking about the suspected MAGA boycott?
No, not that. You said something about, like, the feds probably visited whoever made this movie. And now I understand because
yeah,
thought
it's
it
tied
was, like,
in with
very governmental.
Yeah, this is a very political. I was just like, man, if Trump sees this movie, the FBI going to be visiting some people.
And to me, I didn't get it because I was like, this was made well before Trump even took office.
Well, the book was, but again, I would want to look and see when the script was being developed for the movie.
Before Trump took office.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I don't believe you. No, it's fine.
I've had this on my list for a long time.
Well, cool, but you know, scripts get revised, drafts change.
I don't think they took this beautiful piece of art though and went, nah, crap, throw everything out. It's now just about Trump.
I didn't say just. At what point did I say just? God damn it. Say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.